Alright, we're going to go ahead and open up Blender. Tutorial. Set up our background. Hit General. Hit A for all. X to delete and return or enter. Now we're going to go to File. Import SVG, assuming that you know how to convert a file into an SVG. If not, then you can go to the link up here, how to convert a PNG into a SVG. But I'm going to go ahead and open. Do this guy right here. We're going to have to zoom in. This is going to be very small. And we're going to hit A for all. R. X on the x-axis. 90. And that's what we got so far. From there, we're going to go ahead and right click, convert to mesh. And we should be able to highlight and convert everything to a mesh now. Yes. Okay, so if you have these triangles, you've done everything correct. This is in the outliner. And what we're going to do from here is we're going to separate everything by color. We're going to do 2 different colors on this project. This project should take from start to finish about 20 minutes or so, depending on your expertise. We're going to go ahead and click and shift click here, and we are going to Command J, which is a join, and then we're going to hit H for hide. And then we're going to highlight these guys and do Command J, or I'm sorry, click, then highlight, Command J, and notice everything turned yellow. So as long as everything's alright, we can probably hit zoom in, and we're going to do the same thing for everything down here, because we want all this to be red except for what's inside of the numbers or letters. And just keep on going, making sure you're doing everything correct. See, right here is a mistake, so I'm going to have to go back and eventually fix that. I'll do that right now. We're going to hit Command J and then hide, and then Option H, bring everything back. Click here, shift click there, Command J. And now, if we zoom out, that should, yep, so I brought it with it. So now we can hit Command Z to put it back, and click here. And go ahead and zoom in so we can get a precise click so we don't mess up. Command J. Alright, so now we have our 2 separate colors. We have all of our white right here, and then we can bring in our I'm sorry, this is going to be red, and bring in our white. So now everything looks pretty good to me. So now what we can do is go over to the properties panel, go to modifier properties, and go to Solidify. So there are a couple issues with this. When you do bring in a SVG, it's not 100% clean. You're going to have these issues to where you have these points sticking out. Doesn't look all that great, but we'll make it work, and I'll show you a way to fix it. So we're solidify everything. Make sure that that's done. I'm gonna go into something doesn't look right. Okay, yeah, now it does. Cool, we're good. So now what we can do is I'm gonna offset this. I'm gonna go G, Y, pull it back a little bit to give it a little bit of a texture. Now we're gonna go ahead and fix these issues right here. Now they don't have, usually they don't have any vertices or faces. They're not really a face, they're just sticking out. So a way to fix that, go back in object mode, and we're gonna go ahead and bring this forward just a bit, and it should get rid of. And then we're going to do the same thing here. So it's going. Boom. Alright, so everything looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and bring this closer so it's not so defined. Now we're going to set our color. We go to Material tab, and we're going to set this to red. If you notice, everything turned white when I turned it white. So a way to fix that is to go into edit mode and then pick your color. Oh, we're going to make this white. Sorry. We're going to assign. Now we're going to back out. Go to what we want, red. Boom. New. And we're going to make this red. And make it a little bit darker. What is it going to look like? Need to bring in a light. We're bring in the sun, and I'm going to grab the sun, bring it down to Y, bring it up to Z. You don't have to do this, you can just adjust it the way you need to, but I like to do it this way. Try to get on that angle. Actually, probably bring it down a little bit more. Right there. So I like that. We're going to put this in cycles so we get a real-time, not real-time render, but a more accurate what we're working with. So now you got your nice little shadows in here. Everything looks good. So now it's time to create our emission. So what I do is pick it this red color or red object. I'm going to hit Shift D, Y, and bring it back. And then I'm just going to line up with it. I'm going to go back into viewport and bring it to the Y and try to get it as close as possible without having any overlap, and that looks pretty decent to me. So now what we're going to do is click here and go to material, remove material, new material, go down to emissions. We're going to make this guy white, and we're going to bring up the emissions to about 7 to see what it does. Go ahead and bring it. Yeah, that looks, I like that. It looks pretty cool. But now I'm going to kind of make this white the same as the emission color. Might have to bring it down a little bit just because it's a little too bright, but now what's going to end up happening is in here is going to be hollowed out, and I don't think it's going to look too good. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in a plane mesh. We're going to go ahead and scale it down quite a bit. Going to rotate on the X 90. We're going to hit G and grab it. And what we're going to do is hit the negative Y up here, depending on your layout. Could be X, could be Z, depending on how you do this, but this is the way I work. We're going to scale it on a Z to match the inside of the letters. And then we're going to scale it on the X we're going to grab it and line it just over top of the letters. We're going to hit our X to get a side view. We're going to grab it, go Y, and right about there should be perfect. Might have to bring it out more, so grab Y, boom, and then we're going to change the material color on this to white, and we're probably going to add a emission. I'm going to bring down the emission strength to like 0.3. And I'm probably going to do the same thing here. Probably going to go 0.3. I'm going to have to change this material. I'm going to click off, boom, new material. And I like it at 1 for right now, and the rest at 0.3. We're going to bring in another plane mesh. We're going to rotate it on the x-axis at 90 degrees, and we're going to grab it on the Y and pull back just till we see enough white, and I think that looks pretty good. Now we're going to change the material of that. I'm going to go to new, black, and with this I'm going to bring up metallic and bring up the roughness, and that should give us a nice clean black background. So now I need to bring in a camera. What am I doing? And that camera, I believe I'm grab Y, boom, there it is. I'm going to scale this puppy down quite a bit. I'm going to rotate it on the Z, and we're going to hit 0 to find out where we are. Shift F, and that should give us a ability to line up into it and get on the Y axis. Kind of too fast. There we go. So now we're going to hit render. We're going to hit F12 to get a quick render to see what it looks like. Alright, so I don't think the emission is bright enough, so we're going to go cancel that, and we're going to go back. We're going to exit out of the camera by hitting 0. We're going to zoom all the way in. We're going to change this to what mode is this? Material view mode. Everything looks good. I mean, everything looks nice and clean, but I'm going to change the emission of this guy back here to be a little bit brighter. I do 7 like I originally did, and then see what it looks like. Go back to the camera, go to render, F12 again. Alright, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to bump this guy up to 1 or 2 on the white. And see how that looks. Just a little bit of playing back and forth. We'll do 2 to start off. That should do everything for us. So, yep. Make sure the inside plane. Oh, where are you at? There it is. So the inside plane should be at 2 as well. And now I kind of want to bring this up just a tad more, probably 14. And I think that should be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and render real quick. Alright, so I'm not getting the bloom that I normally get. And I think it has to do with the brightness. So I'm going to change that a little bit more. I'll try 30 just to give us a sample. Okay. Render. Alright, that's more like it. I like that. So we're probably going to go up like 10 more points on the emission. We'll go up to 40. That's fine right there. So now what we need to do is link everything together right here. So we're going to click this guy off. We're going to hide him for right now. Highlight everything here. Go to see-through mode, or was it exact thing, or X-ray mode, sorry. And we're going to highlight everything. And we're going to hit Command J, and it should make everything all one. Yeah. It should grab. Nope, didn't do it. So right click, join. There we go. Now it's all there. Cut this guy out a little bit because I don't want that attached right now. Command J. Remember, you have to click on something to give it this bright orange outline, and then you highlight everything, shift click, get a nice dark, and then you can hit Command J. That's my mistake. I apologize. So now we're going to grab this guy, Y, and bring it back right there. I think that looks pretty good. So now what we want to do is set the origin. And how we're going to do that is go to set origin, and we're going to do origin to geometry to origin. What we're going to do is geometry to origin, and see how everything moved perfectly right here. So now what I need to do is grab this guy first. Let's go into grab, boom, and then grab Y, boom. So now we're at where we want to be, and how we're going to do this is we're going to go ahead and grab X, just move this guy over just a tad. And then we're going to right click again, set origin to 3D cursor. Then we're going to zoom out, or option H. And we're going to have to refix this guy. So right there should be good. And we're going to click our camera, and then we're going to shift click the logo. Then we're going to go to object, track, track to constraint, and what that does, it's going to center everything for you right here, as you can see. Now when I go into, I'm going to hit N, bring up my transform, and make sure we're clicked on the camera, and then we're going to move our camera along the X. You see how it moves perfectly, and then we're going to move on the Y, and it's just going to bring it closer, further, and then your Z up and down. So now we're going to go in here and press 0. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, so we have our frame in here, and we're going to make sure that we have our timeline going. And how we're going to do this is we're going to move along the x-axis, and then we're going to move it up to Z, and we're going to come in a little bit closer on the Y, a little bit closer to X, and bring it down just a hair. So now we're going to hit our auto keyframes. We're going to come over here and hit I on every single one of these, just in case you decide you want to change something. And then we're going to go every 25 frames and move it along the X. And if you notice, I made a keyframe right here. And then we're going to go down to Z. We're going to go down to Z. And another 25 frames. I'm going to move it along the X. Kind of bring it up just a tad. Another keyframe. And there's 75 frames. And then we're going to move it along the X again. Up into Z. I'm going to try to make it a little bit more of an angle. And we're getting a little cut off down here, so we need to make sure that that doesn't happen. So that looks pretty good. And then we're going to go to 100. And we're going to move along the X. Down on the Z. And then go to 125. And we're going to move it along the X. Down on the Z. And we go on the Y. A little bit more of an angle. I think that looks pretty good. So now we need to set this guy to 125. Go over to your renderer. The higher this is, the better results you're going to be. I'm going to go ahead and do this at 32, just for presentation purposes. Depth of sampling is good. And then you want to go over here to where you want to put it, to your output. I'm going to go ahead and put it into one of my folders. And frames is good. And then render out as a PNG or GBA, 16-bit, compression 0. I'm going to do this in 4K, as I like to do all my renders. You're free to do whatever you want. The higher the resolution, the more constraint it's going to put on your computer. So now we got 1 to 125 frames. Everything looks good. We're going to render out one frame. And you should always do this process just so you can get a clean look when you do a denoiser in the composition tab. So now this guy is done. What I'm going to do is go ahead and exit, go to composition. We're going to use nodes, click off, come up, drag this guy out, and we're going to do Shift A, filter, denoise. and this is going to denoise that image for you. And just so you can see, we're going to hit Shift A, output viewer, and we're going to come down here and boom, and the image should show up back here. Don't make me a liar. There we go. Alright, so this is your original image, and this is the new one. See how nice and clean it is? So now what we're going to do is render it out completely, and this is going to be Command F12, Command F12, and it's going to render out completely. And denoiser, that looks good. From there, when it's all done, go to video editing, video edit, and add image sequence, and then you're going to go to all your frames. You're going to have 125 frames, so should be 125 PNGs. Now we're going to set our frame at 1 and then 125. We're going to come over here, hit A. It's going to select all of them, add to strip, and here it is. So now it's going to be very slow because it's still doing its thing. It's not done yet, but this is ultimately what you're going to get. So now, to make this a video file, go back to the renderer, the render output, and we're going to change this to FFmpeg video, and you can change the name of it, do whatever you want, but always do it as RGB, because you don't want it black and white. That wouldn't look good. Go down to encoding, change this guy to MPEG ;4, and make sure it is H.264 so you can put it on any platform. Lowest quality, I always do high quality or lossless. Lossless is the best. But now that we have our folder set up and we have our dimension set up for our output, we're going to go ahead and do Command F12, and it's going to render completely, and then you're going to be able to watch it real time. Oh, it's not going to let me do it because it's a QuickTime file. I need to bring it into Premiere. And I already had it done for you, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you this part, what it looks like. So we're going to go ahead over here, boom, play, and that's your animation. Now remember, this is at a lower quality. The higher quality you do, the better it will be. So now you have your background set up, and it's on to part 2.